Hello everyone, welcome to all. In the previous session, we have discussed about regarding to the some kinds of motion sensors as well as the force sensors. In this session, we are going to discuss about the for acceleration sensors. Okay, what are the kinds of acceleration? How do we measure the acceleration? How do we specify the acceleration by using the this kind of sensors? Okay. So in the previous session, we have discussed about the motion sensor, which is nothing but the two. There are only classified into two types: stroboscope as well as the pyroelectric sensors. And the next one, under the category of force sensors, we have here spring machines. Okay, under the spring machine, we have three parameters we need to consider. So first one is the coil springs, and the next one is the proving rings, as well as the third one load cells. Okay. These are the kinds of some force sensors. Okay, so and then coming to acceleration sensors, so here we just this kind of by using this kind of sensors we're going to discuss, going to measure the acceleration parameter. Okay, in kinds of dynamics or kinetics, whatever it may be, which kind of a situation it is. Here, as per the Newton's second law, we may know that the what are the amount of force is directly proportional to the multiplication of, as is the product of mass of the particular body and acceleration of the particular body. So as usually in this practical situations, though suppose whenever we applied some force on the particular object, obviously the material possesses some internal force here. Okay, opposes some internal forces. So the kind of opposing internal force, we can call it as a stress, or we can call it as a, some kind of opposing resisting effect. Okay, suppose let us have a look at this diagram. Suppose I have initially I have a material like this one. Okay, so when I applied a force in this direction in a compressible way, so the material possesses some kinds of resisting element. Okay, and this resisting element, which can represent it as in opposite direction. What are the amount of what are the amount of force applied, which is opposite that force. Okay, which is trying to opposite that forces. Okay, in this direction, which is represented by like this one, like this direction. Okay, suppose in the schematic point of view, in the while we gone through the vibrations point of view, or while we gone through the analysis point of view, we just replace the specimen as a spring. Okay, hope you understand. Suppose here we just replace a specimen as a spring, like this one. We just replace a spring. Okay, whenever we applied some force here, so obviously some spring obeys some kind of resisting force. So is a practical also it's happened. So whenever we apply some kind of force on the spring, the spring has a capable of some showing some resistance force. Okay, this resistance force we can call it as a spring force. Okay. So spring force is now, how do we calculate the spring force? Suppose in case of consider the spring or any particular specimen as a spring, we just assume some constant is there. The constant is K. K is nothing but the stiffness of the spring. Stiffness nothing but the, as for the basic fundamentals, the stiffness of the any material can be represented as load per deflection. Okay. Suppose K is equals to load per deflection, P by delta L or delta L, whatever may be. So here, so obviously for the, what will be the P is equals to, or K is equals to, or F is, whatever the may be, F is equals to, so the delta L will be multiplied to the stiffness. Okay, so here the K into delta X. For the, this is the equation for the spring force. And then next followed by, suppose in order to bring the entire scenario into equilibrium position, we just maintain some equation. Okay, just maintain the equilibrium position. So what are the amount of force applied on the particular body, on the particular spring, is equals to the, what are the resistance force opposite What are the resisting force opposed by the spring? Okay, so by equating these two equations, we may know that the MA is equals to K into delta X. So obviously the A is equals to K is multiplied by delta X by M. The above equation represents a second order system. This is nothing but the, suppose here up to now we just whatever the we consider the assumptions is right, perfect. So in case of practical situation, in case of practical situations, while applying these scenario, these concepts, so we may face the some kind of consequences like uh, vibrations. It may leads to vibrations. Okay, suppose when a spring like this one, when just have a look at this diagram, I just place some kind of mass here, some amount of mass here under the this one, underneath of this one, just to maintain it two elements. First one is the spring, okay, which is having a stiffness of K. So second one is the some element which is used to which is used to control the vibrations of the mass. Okay, control the vibrations of the mass. We can call it as a damper, which is having a damping coefficient of C. Okay, which having some constant. Any element having in your practical applications, day-to-day life applications, any element having some kind of a coefficient constant here, whether it may be elastic constant, whether it may be modulus of rigidity, whether it may be stiffness, whether it may be damping coefficient, whatever it may be. Suppose in this situation, so in order to reduce the frequency, whenever we apply the force here, so we just with the support of spring K, which is mounted on this spring. Okay. Suppose when we apply the force, the object will tends to vibrate continuously. So in order to bring the equilibrium position, or in order to reduce the vibrations, why? Because in day-to-day life, any machine which causes some kind of vibration, which will lead to the failure, which will lead to the fatigue. Fatigue is nothing but the suppose. Repeated fatigue is nothing but, as we know, that repeated reversal cycles. So it's a number of times the action is repeating. Number of times the action is gone to repeating, or same reversal cycle. Okay, in case of reversing cycle, the machine will be tends to failure. It may be in a bolt and nut connections. It may be base level, or it may be some kind of gear systems. It may be failure at any chance. We can't predict at what part, at which position the failure occurs. So in this situation, in order to reduce the vibrations, we just maintain some damper here. So that's why reason whenever we mounted any equipment on the certain platform, we just provide here some kind of damping materials like this one, rubber. Okay, or we may observed in the railway bogies. Okay, so every bogie which is connected with this some kind of rubber in between them. So the rubbers are used for the in order to absorb the vibrations while when the train is on the moving position. Okay, and the next one is the, suppose in this situation also we have just a basic structure of accelerometer is look like this one. So we have a M, we consider it as the mass of the body, and K is the stiffness of the spring, and C is the damping effect. Damping. So we just consider an element which having a, we can call it as a damper. It's nothing but a damper is look like ice. So here the piston cylinder arrangement here. Damper is nothing but the which is looks like a piston cylinder arrangement. The cylinder which contains of some kinds of fluids. Okay. Just the entire cylinder is filled up with some kind of fluid, and then over the fluid, the piston is moving, tends to moving. So it's gone through this some kind of movement. So in order to, whenever we just observe the vibration, in order to reduce the vibrations, the piston will be self-adjusting itself. Okay, like this one. Okay, suppose we have a casing here. Initially we have a casing here. We just represent it as a hatching pot, and then next. We can just consider some kind of some amount of mass here, which mass is supported by two elements, and stiffness as well as the damper. Suppose and then later, whenever we just giving the input an acceleration or any displacement to the casing, Obviously, what are the suppose we just maintain a we just given an is as input of displacement here. Okay, the input is nothing but it might be displacement, it might be a velocity, it might be acceleration, whatever the suppose I would like to move the casing at any direction as I want. Suppose in that situation, when we apply the some just giving some movement to the casing, obviously the what are the internal what are the mass within the casing will be tends to some kind of either leftward direction or rightward direction. It may be bending, so it may be oscillating, or it may be changes its position. Okay, hope you guys understand, as you understand or not. Suppose initially, whenever we just moving in some kind of directions, some kind of displacement or some kind of what you call obstructions to the casing, obviously the internal mass and the what are the internal we consider it as a mass which is tends to moving. So is what the amount of deflection or the amount of deviation is directly proportional to the amount of force applied here. Okay, so suppose after the application of load, the mass having some kind of displacement here, and which displacement is measured by this displacement transducer. Okay, like this one, displacement transducer. So in case of while we considering the damping force also, the damping force is equals to C into V. So C is the damping coefficient and V is the velocity. Okay. So by equating those three equations, the Fs plus Fd is equals to Fa is nothing but the Fa is the external force. Fa is the external force or external acceleration is directly proportional or is equals to the summation of spring force plus summation of the damping force. So the equation will be K into delta X plus Cv is equals to Ma. Okay. So we have here some kinds of note here. Suppose whenever we just consider a mass which tends to or which converts the acceleration into displacement, spring displacement. Okay, it's nothing but the suppose I have a mass here like this one. When I am giving some kind of acceleration here, some kind of acceleration in this direction. So when I connected this mass spring to this mass, so whenever we just give an acceleration in this direction, the body will convert this acceleration into spring displacement here. Okay, understand? Spring displacement here. This body which converts the acceleration into the spring displacement. So in this situation, this kind of mass we can consider it, or we can call it as a seismic mass. Okay, so these are the there are 5 types of seismic masses, seismic types of accelerometers. Okay, so all these accelerometers we have just considering seismic mass. Okay, so seismic mass is nothing but which converts the acceleration into some kinds of spring displacement or any another form. So is the displacement seismic acceleration here. First one is the. So in this situation also, just have a look at this diagram. I'm going through overall view. So we have a workpiece here. Over the workpiece, we just mounted some casing here. Okay. So in the casing itself, we have a seismic mass here, and then which is supported by 2 elements. The bottom one is the spring, and the top one is the damper. So these 2 elements, the mass is balanced. Okay, mass is getting balanced. Suppose the seismic mass is connected to a transducer here. So what are the transducer here? Okay, and the next which is this transducer is connected to the casing. Okay, by this shaft. So whenever we just give any deviation or deflection to the workpiece, suppose the entire workpiece, we need to calculate the acceleration of the workpiece here. So in that situation, the accelerometer or the entire equipment is mounted on the workpiece. So which being to be measured. Okay, in this situation, so whenever, so obviously the casing also, whenever the workpiece is moving, obviously the casing also moves along with the workpiece. So in this situation, so the seismic mass has what are the um, what you call internally the what are the mass we consider the specific mass or seismic mass also having some getting deviation or deflection. Okay, some kind of movement here has happened. So what are the amount of movement, whatever the amount of displacement has raised by a seismic mass is measured by transducer, displacement transducer. Okay, in this situation. So, and then displacement transducer is followed by the some kind of microprocessor, and then display unit. Then we can obtain what are the amount of acceleration which we have provided. What are the amount of acceleration we need to measure is obtained. So we have some kind of derivations here. So is regarding to the, so mx double dot is nothing but the ma. X double dot, x is the displacement, x dot is the velocity, x double dot is the, by differentiating one two times, okay, it will be acceleration is equals to minus c x dot minus y dot is nothing but, x dot is nothing but the velocity. So initially x velocity and final velocity, then is negative of k spring stiffness. Okay, and the next f naught sin omega t, which is all these equations are comes under the in the zone of vibrations, theory of vibration. We have a separate subject here. Okay, just to have a try to understand as much as the diagram itself. Okay, no need to measure or no need to bother about the calculations. Okay. And then next, this is the formula tan phi equals to 2. So this symbol is, you can call it as a eta. Eta. So eta is nothing but the damping ratio, C by 2m omega n. Okay. And the next one, strain gauge accelerometer. Strain gauge accelerometer. We have a similarly, and this strain gauge accelerometer is also similar to the previous one, displacement seismic accelerometer. Okay, so what is the main difference between is the, so we have here the mass is balanced by the spring and damper, and then later the seismic mass is balanced by some kind of fluids here. Suppose the casing is completely filled up with a fluid here. Okay, which may be a viscous fluid or non-viscous fluid, whatever it may be. Okay, so here the casing is filled up with some kind of fluid here, and in the center of the fluid we have a mass which is supported by some kind of beam here, which is called as a cantilever beam. Okay, over the cantilever beam we just to place two strain gauges here. Two strain gauges, the above one is under below, okay, beneath of shaft. So here the workpiece is, entire casing is displayed on mounted on position on the workpiece. Whenever you give the workpiece to the whenever you give acceleration to the workpiece, obviously along with the workpiece the accelerometer also goes along with the workpiece. Okay, with some kind of acceleration. So the disturbance is causing to the casing. Okay, suppose in this situation, so what, due to the external disturbance, external movement of the casing, in the internally the seismic mass also has getting some kind of deflection or deviation. Okay, some kind of displacement has been occurred. So what are the amount of displacement has occurred is measured by the strain gauges here. Okay, and the strain gauge is getting strain gauge is nothing but the some kind of resistance here. Strain gauge, as you know, that for every time wherever you use a strain gauge, you just maintain here some kind of resistance here. So all these resistance are connected in here V-stone bridges like this one. Okay. we just maintain a number of resistance or number of strain gauges in the form of V-stone bridges. So in order to balance all those resistance, okay, in order to bring the equilibrium position here itself. So what are the changes in the strain gauge? What are the changes observed by the strain gauge is measured by the resistance. So obviously it's proportional to the reduction or change in the variation of the resistance, and then later we just measure what are the amount of voltage we obtained, what are the amount of voltage we produced by the V-stone bridges. So by this conversion, the input is just a displacement or some kind of acceleration here. The output is the in kind of voltages, okay, in the form of voltages. So, and the next one is the piezo accelerometer. Okay, the piezoelectric effect can be effectively used to measure the acceleration. Okay, and then most commonly is the, so here is nothing but we have some kind of crystal here. Suppose I have a material here which is made up of some kind of crystal. The crystal is nothing but the piezoelectric crystal itself. The material we can call it as a piezoelectric crystal. So in over the crystal, we just place it two electrodes here, and the top one is placed on the top, and another one is placed on the bottom level. So here, these are the electrodes. So like this one, okay. Piezoelectric accelerometer. So here we have a piezoelectric crystal here, and over the piezoelectric crystal we have two electrodes here. We just placed two electrodes here, and over the electrodes we just mounted some mass which is called as seismic mass. Okay, and entire which is covered by the entire elements are covered by the some frame. Okay, and what are the amount this we can call this entire fittings we can call it as accelerometer, and which accelerometer is positioned on the base. Okay, base is nothing but the workpiece. Okay, we just maintain it. So we have two terminals here. One is one is connected to the casing, and another one is connected to the electrode here. Okay, and by these two, we just obtain a voltage formula in the form of voltage. Okay, so it's nothing but when the base is now accelerated downwards. We just consider some case studies. So when the base is acceleration in the vertical direction, like upwards or downwards. If in case it moves with the downwards, the internal reaction force on the base acts upward against the top of the frame. So obviously, whenever F equals to ma is nothing but for every action there will be equal and opposite reaction, and the opposite reaction we can call it as inertia force. Okay, so it's nothing but the F minus ma equals to 0. So some kind of inertia force has been acted against the force. Obviously, here to against the acceleration, we experience some kind of forces here, which is actually upwards. Why? Because the body is moving with the downwards, moving some kind of acceleration in a downward direction. Obviously, the reaction force or inertia force, which is acted in upward direction. So which causes to the decrease in force is proportional to the acceleration. Okay, the resulting change in the output voltage is recorded. So it's nothing but some kind of voltage is generated here. So which is connected, which is observed by some kind of voltmeter here. So over these two is nothing but whenever we give the displacement to the base in the downward direction, obviously some kind of forces will be acted on opposite direction. Due to the force, some kind of EMF will be generated. Some kind of EMF will be generated in the electrodes. Okay. So yeah, as usually, wherever the EMF is generated, obviously, and parallelly, some kind of voltage is produced there. So which kind of voltage we can measure by the output voltage. Okay. So this is the main working principle of piezoelectric accelerometer. Okay. So what are the amount of deviation, what are the amount of deflection which is sensed by the piezoelectric crystal? Okay, the main heart of the equipment is piezoelectric crystal. So these are the following advantages of the instrument is quite small in size and natural frequency is very high. The voltage monitor source of high voltage impedance. So these are the stuff we may later. And the next concept is potentiometric accelerometer. So which is look like this one. Okay, in the bottom diagram. So we have here, we have a casing for everything, any kind of accelerometer, we have a just casing. The entire elements are covered by the casing in order to in order to prevent the impact of external situations. Okay, external situation nothing but the environmental situation. In order to prevent, we don't want to allow, and whether it may be rainy season, whether it may be summer season, whether it be any disturbance, external disturbance, entire elements are covered by some kind of casing. So within the casing, we have some mass here, and which is supported by either maybe damper, either it may be a spring. Okay, like this one, which is damper, and it is spring. And by these two elements, the mass has been balanced. So whenever the casing observed some kind of acceleration, obviously from the basic fundamental principle point of view, the mass also getting some kind of displacement in this. Okay, so which may be moves in a linear vertical direction, either it may be upwards, either it may be downwards. So this movement of the mass has been recorded by some kind of resistance here. So it's nothing but a wiper is connected to from the mass to the resistance, variable resistance here. Okay, so what are the amount of displacement as observed by the workpiece is transferred to the resistor through the wiper. Okay, so the variation of resistance is directly proportional to the displacement occurred. Okay, due to the variation of resistance, obviously there will be some kind of voltage, changing voltage. We just observe and maintain later. And the next one is the LVDT accelerometer. LVDT accelerometer is nothing but it looks like in the above diagram. So we have a central core here in this diagram. We have a central core here, and over the central core, we have two coils on both sides. The left coil we can call it as a primary coil, and the right coil you can call it as a secondary coil. Okay, this is the fixed plate here. This is on whenever LVDT is nothing but the linear variable differential transformer. Okay, the abbreviation is linear variable differential transformer. Suppose initially the central core is whenever the body is in a stable position. Okay, stable position. Initially, what are the amount of voltage or power supply is given to this individual circuits as getting equal. Whenever the central core is moving with a certain kind of velocity, certain kind of displacement or acceleration, obviously there will be change in voltage produced in the respectively coils. Okay, there will be change in voltage. So which is observed by the voltage output here. Okay, initially voltage input here through this electromagnetic induction principle. As we know that is completely applicable to the transformer situations. So whenever through the inductance principle, the primary coil transfer to the secondary coil and cuts the coils, and obviously the EMF will be induced in the secondary coil, and that EMF is collected by the voltage output. Here also, whenever we just central core has getting displaced some amount deviation, which will lead to change in voltage. Obviously there will be change in EMF, and the next one, then later obviously there will be a change in voltage, which is observed by the voltage or voltmeter. So here initially we just that given input is displacement of the central core. The final output is the amount of voltage produced. We just have a conversions, and then what are the amount has given to the central core, amount of displacement has given to the central core, we can observe, we can calculate it later. Okay, these are the advantages of first one is it has higher natural frequency. Okay, higher natural frequency. Okay, and then the error occurs due to the moving context. No error occurs. Okay, no error. Why? Because due to moving coil, here no moving coil, so apart from the central core. Okay, no application. It is used in steady state acceleration, and it is used in low frequency measurements. In the next class, we will go through the torque sensors. Okay, how do you measure the torque? By using some kind of a Prony brake, and then this kind of, okay.